Okay, well, we're going to get started. I do hear a few other folks have beamed in. Who has come in that hasn't said hi?
Lucy Howell.
This is
Hi, Lucy, and someone else said hi.
Sherilyn.
Sherilyn, welcome. Excellent.
Thank you.
So we're going to get started. I'm sorry, was there someone else? Okay, well, we're going to get started, and busy agenda today, lots to go through, and let's hop into it. So thank you all for being here today. We're only 2 months or so away from seeing you, which is going to be a lot of fun. So just to refresh, our mission is to provide students with opportunities to develop creative problem solving and problem identification techniques through inventing, innovating, and entrepreneurial activities, leading to greater consideration of STEM careers in high school and college. So our specific agenda today, we actually have some that have already delivered their Invention convention. So we're going to have some updates from Tracy, Beth, and Lauren, who just crossed the finish line last night. So a lot of fun updates there. Then we'll go to our steering committee for updates on their progress, and we'll have some logistics conversations, an IP legal update, and then open questions. And as normal, for those that are new, you wouldn't know this, but as normal, certainly if there's a question that you have as we're going along or a comment you want to make, please do. My job is to sort of keep things moving, so I may, sort of ask that a more detailed conversation happen offline. We may ask, or I probably should ask at this point, if you're not speaking, if you wouldn't mind putting your phone on mute. That will keep our call quality good. We won't hear you talking to somebody else, or if you put us on hold. No, don't put us on hold. Hang up. We learned that the last time. So don't put us on hold. Just hang up and dial back in when you can. So this is being recorded. So if you do have to pop off, we will share the recording within a day or two. Okay, so let's hop in and go over to Tracy. Tracy, do you want to give us an update? We've got your 2 slides here. Do you want to tell us about the Tennessee Invention Convention?
Sure. Thank you. So we had 637 young inventors, and that we represent 4th, 5th, and 6th grades from the Middle Tennessee area. From those 637 young people, we had 341 inventions. We have 2 different categories, a games category and then something to make life easier. So we had 49 schools, which is an increase. Well, all of these are an increase over last year, almost about an 80% increase this year over last year. That was interesting and a surprise and a challenge to a pleasant problem, but a challenge to definitely to accommodate this time. But let's see. Then as a result, we have 60 different awards. So there are 10 different awards in each area, in each category per grade level is how we do it. Had all judges from the community this time. In the past, I have used people that adults that were friends, et cetera, that I could, but I've taken a page out of Nick's book of fundraising and tried to get more people from the community that would hopefully be interested in supporting the Invention Convention financial support. So that was another big change and hopefully a good thing in the long run. So far, we have 20 young inventors planning on attending the National Invention Convention. The group in the right picture, in the yellow T-shirts, there's a group of 3 little girls that came up with a really neat swing. They have one of them has a friend that can't swing in a swing on the playground like the other boys and girls can, and they came up with a device, so to speak, a way to hold her in the swing so that she can swing independently on her own. So that was a heartfelt and a big one, big favorite of everyone's. The next slide just continues on with some of the pieces of the Tennessee Invention Convention, how we do this. State Farm Insurance Company sponsors this event here in Tennessee. So each year we are, through their support, able to feature an item that has been invented. Of course, everything was invented at some point or another for a purpose. So we do research on that particular item and share with the students when that was actually invented, who invented it, and why they invented it at that time, and then how it has progressed over time. So the earbuds was the featured invention this year, and it goes back more than 100 years ago and how they used that in the music industry. So leading right into the music industry, I was fortunate enough to have these three young people, and the picture on the right are up-and-coming music artists, and they have to collaborate together. One of them is a vocalist, the other one they call an artist. He's the musician and the writer, and then the one in the middle is the producer. And they discussed and shared with the students how they have to collaborate, much like the students who collaborated on an invention to come up with an invention together. So that was, I thought, a nice life skill to be tied in with the purpose of the Invention Convention as well. That's about it.
Congratulations, Tracy.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Tracy?
That's really cool. I love the idea about the earbuds and telling people where it came from and everything, and the fact that it was sponsored. What's neat about State Farm is that's a national brand. That's probably something we could actually all go to our local State Farms. And what was the cost to State Farm to do that earbud handout? Was it like $1 a earbud or something?
Yes, they were a little over $1 a piece, when you order them in bulk, and of course we got about 700 of them. And their support has varied over the years. They have been a sponsor for the last 20 years, and this past year they were able to give a little bit more. So in the past years it's been $3,000. This year they were able to give $3,200. So that was it worked out great because I had so much, that increase. So I needed that many more numbers to go along with the inventions, et cetera, just to put on the convention itself. So it was nice to have that little extra cushion.
So, Nick, that would be a great example to take to State Farm National and say, hey, why aren't you guys doing this all over the U.S.?
Yeah. With franchised organizations, that would be easier.
$700 is not a big deal.
Yeah.
I can bring you some earbuds, Nick.
Yeah, maybe why don't we talk? Well, maybe we could talk offline about having a call with your contact there to see if you'd be willing to bump us up. Usually, the way that corporate responsibility and social responsibility and all that works is that organizations are divided into regional and then national partnership positions, and so people usually either are focusing on community-oriented projects or national-oriented projects, just because all of the mechanics of the projects are so different between the two that it makes more sense to specialize. So I to be bumped up to the national, that we can then, spread down and coordinate for each of the respective regions would be really awesome.
Sure. Happy to talk with you. Yeah, we can email like we do, and we'll set up a time to talk.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect. Cool. Any other questions for Tracy? Awesome. Beth, were you able to join us?
Yes, I made it. I just left my
Excellent.
students with another teacher and said, have fun.
Perfect. Cool.
And
So do you want to tell us about Invent Idaho?
Sure. And Tracy, congratulations on 600 kids. That's a handful.
Thanks, Beth.
We had approximately, so our Invent Idaho state finals was this past weekend at the University of Idaho, and we had 134 young inventors, but that is students who have already qualified at a regional where there were several hundred. So we were pretty tickled with 134 from the three regionals. We had an MC that flew in from Los Angeles. His name is Gray Bright, and he hosts a TV talk show called The Tomorrow Show. He was so funny, and he was so good with the kids. Made them. He interviews for a living, and he's fun and funny. His show, and I don't know if it's syndicated nationwide, but it's kind of like Jimmy Fallon, but for science and technology. So if you're looking for anybody for nationals, he was a huge hit. Anyhow, just a thought. Idaho is a huge state, and we had parents, some of them drove well over 10 hours just to get to the state finals. So we were pretty tickled with that. We had 68 winners in 5 different categories and 4 grade divisions. We've added a high school this year, or high school grand champion, so that was pretty cool. The neat thing that has really made a difference for us is that the STEM Action Center in Boise, in Idaho, is funding 10 $1,000 scholarships or stipends for some of the kiddos to come to nationals. And the STEM Action Center is actually funded by the state legislature, so we actually have indirectly, but state funding now. So I don't know. I'm curious to find out if any other state has that, and we'd like to let the STEM Action Center know that. Well, I have already let them know we appreciate them, and that it's a very unique thing, I believe. Then Micron donated 5 $500 scholarships or stipends for kiddos to come to nationals. That puts us right now at 15 winners who have some sort of support to attend, and so we're pretty tickled with that. And we did venture, Danny, into the area of pitch. And Bill, we did it with some of our students, and they were invited back for callbacks to give a pitch, and that helped kind of sort it out a little bit. 8 of those kiddos were selected now to pitch at the University of Idaho's Expo, where they do their senior design for College of Engineering. So last year we had little kids, like 1st and 2nd graders and 5th and 6th graders, interspersed with the University of Idaho college seniors, and that was kind of fun.
Yay.
The U of I what's that? Yeah, it was kind of fun to see. The U of I donated a $1,000 scholarship to one student, and it ended up, they selected it to go to a 5th grader. I can't wait I hope that student's able to come to national, because it's pretty cool. The president of the university came and spoke, as well as several senators and representatives. And 25 of our kiddos, of our winners, have now been invited to set up their inventions at Invent Idaho Day at the Capitol in Boise on this coming Monday. So if the legislators couldn't come to us, we're going to them. That's pretty much everything I have. Oh, that's Monday, March 13th is what it should say, sorry, on the slide.
And here's some of the pictures. Do you want to describe the pictures to us?
Alrighty. So what Gray Bright, the MC, brought with him a cloth backdrop that is exactly like his set for his television show. And so we set it up, we just hung it on the wall, and then he did little mock interviews with the kids as if they were really on the Tomorrow Show. He was asking various students then during their pitches to tell him, that's in the upper right-hand corner, to tell him all about their invention. And Corinne, that is pictured in the pink, she was actually at Nationals last year and qualified to come back again this year. And bottom right is simply, yeah, I have 3, cereals, exactly. And that's President Staben of the University of Idaho in the bottom with our awards ceremony. So that's pretty much it.
You know what? We ought to come up with a little button or something that the kids that have been there more than once, they get a special button. You know, it says I'm a serial nicey or whatever, something like that.
Danny, coming in on that same thought, one of the things that they do at Destination Imagination and Odyssey of the Mind is the button trading. If you all had a button of the year, so that every year there's a different button and they can collect them and trade them and all those kinds of things, that might be a hot item, at 2016, 2017, I had the first year kind of thing. Just a thought.
That's what you do at the Olympics. Buttons are a big
I think
thing.
we should sell them.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Struggling with fundraising. I think we should sell the buttons.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, well, I'm sure Danny and Jen are taking notes on that. And any thoughts or questions for Beth? That really sounds like an awesome event. Congratulations.
Thank you. We had a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions for Beth while we have her? Okay, cool. Well, let's hop over to Lauren. Lauren is probably mainlining coffee at the moment after her event yesterday. So,
yes.
Do you want to tell us about South Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. So we ended up with around 400 kids, between 400 and 500. It's actually down from what we had last year. This is my first year. I came to iHeart in July of 2016. So I kind of jumped in and kind of hit the ground running. So from my perspective, it went really well. We took it from originally it was a Monday all day expo, and then the award ceremony was a Tuesday night, which would have been tonight, but we kind of switched it around and made everything all in one day to like kind of streamline the kids, which ended up being a long day for them, but I think they really enjoyed it because we had a lot of good sponsors there to kind of keep them entertained and stuff. So these three that we have here, this first one, I am terribly sorry that I don't remember their names, but all three of these inventions are really, really cool. This first one is a turnaround box. So it's essentially like a Coinstar for recyclables. So her idea was to put it around town so that like homeless people could come in, like pick up recycling and then kind of put it in this box, and depending on the weight of the item, a Walmart gift card or like a Visa gift card would spit back out. And she was really proud of it, and obviously it was just like a prototype kind of thing, but she put a lot of thought into it, and she was really good. She was very articulate. This super gummy, his name is Xavier, and he ran into the issue of his little brother not being able to take his medicine. He's had the flu, I think. And so he was like, well, I bet you would take it like if it was in a gummy. So then he was like, he said, I had this like light bulb moment. So him and his family injected all of his brother's medicine into these gummies, and that was his invention. So that was pretty cool. He was in 5th grade. And then the Safe House, so Ben's family owns a lot of outdoor cats. So what he's sitting on right there is his Safe House. So it's microchipped to each cat. So they run into like coyote issues, them being like up kind of in northern Greenville County in South Carolina. It's like real close to the mountains. So there's a coyote issue. So if a cat was being chased by a coyote and they ran into the Safe House, it would only open for that specific cat that it was microchipped to align to. So he won an award as well. And then Hubble Lighting sponsored the grand prize winner. The grand prize winner's teacher, Hubble was sponsoring them for $1,000 to go to national convention. So I know that was really all over the place. I'm still kind of getting my bearings back from yesterday, but it was a really, really cool event, and it went really well.
Congratulations. That's really cool. So are
there great
questions?
job on your first one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions or additional thoughts for Lauren? I think people are on mute and respecting that, but
I do have a question for Lauren. Did
Yep.
they have I see two kids wearing white T-shirts. Did you have a T-shirt for the event?
Yes, we did. A T-shirt and then sponsors stuffed the bags that we gave out as well.
So the girl just wasn't wearing hers. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Both of the boys put theirs on as soon as they got in the door. But I think she's a little older. I think she might have been 7th or 8th grade. And she was very, very articulate, very like, I'm a presenter. I need to be presentable and not have a T-shirt on. So she hadn't put hers on yet.
The shirt design looks really cool.
Yeah, so in South Carolina, Invention is run out of iHeartMedia. So technically, I'm our Invention director and also a sales assistant for iHeartMedia. And our digital lady designed them, and she does a really, really good job.
That's cool. Well, congratulations, Lauren, and welcome to the tribe here. So
thank you.
We're going to pop on to some other items.
Yep.
So we'll get into the steering steering committee team update. So we've got a judging team, at-large, education components, and a data research team. So I've got the first two here. So let's just pop into those. There's not a lot of update on judging. I shared in our last meeting that the judging criteria and the process are online at the STEMI.org website, and certainly go out there and check those out. The other thing to mention, and again, this was mentioned on the last call, we have had some additional questions. I'll re-mention it. We've had some questions around the sort of definition of an invention, questions coming up around games and apps. And so we're using the USPTO definition of an invention, and that is sort of the construct that we're sort of going back to anytime there's a question. That said, we'd like to develop some examples of an appropriate invention or what's not an appropriate invention in maybe a couple of categories, such as games or apps, so that it's maybe a little easier, not just for us to articulate, but also for any of our inventors to understand. So I'll be socializing that sort of idea and that need with the judging team. And for those that are a part of it, look for an email from me this week. And if you could just give any feedback you have in terms of what we need to create examples around, and then what might be good examples of a good invention with this definition, and maybe one that wouldn't qualify as well. And you all have the live examples that would be really helpful for this. So in any event, that's the judging team. The at-large entry team, Jen, I can do this if you like, or if you want to hop in. What I guess I'll say, and Jen, please hop in anywhere, is there's a fair amount of detail here. This slide is certainly available in review. I know probably most of you aren't so concerned about the at-large program. I guess what I would just say is that if you do have or come across students that for whatever reason can't be served by your program or another affiliate program, that's who would be appropriate for the at-large program. So you can refer them into this. Maybe a more appropriate screen that will give some help is the at-large entry. The applications will begin being accepted on March 8th, and that application process will close on April 8th. So again, if you know somebody, please feel free to refer them into the at-large that, again, can't be served by either your program or another affiliate's program. And then you can see the various dates that we'll go through in terms of stage gating the appropriate inventors into the program. So we do have an unlimited number of K through 2 finalists, and then we'll control the number of 3rd through 12th to sort of supplement what is sort of not coming from the affiliate. So ultimately we want to end up with 300 students. So we're kind of working through that math. So it'll be somewhere in the 20 to probably 30 or 35 range is kind of where we'll end up with the number of at-large participants is where we're targeting. So,
Bill,
any questions?
Bill, a quick,
sure.
quick question on the K2 kiddos not at large. It was my understanding that my first and second graders cannot come to Washington, D.C. physically, but that all the winners in first and second grade can register for online. Is that correct?
Yes. So and Danny, hop in here, but
Hey, Bill, it's Jen. Sorry to interrupt.
Jen?
Can we table Beth's question to my section because I have that included there.
Oh,
perfect. Thank you.
You bet.
Cool. All right.
I have a question back on judging really quick.
Yeah.
This is Annalisa.
Hmm?
Are you guys planning on using, for judging, will the judges be using like a mobile app? Will they be using like Populi, for example, or are they using paper? How are you guys doing that?
We're actually, it looks like we'll be using Pitch Wizard. We're finding that we have another call with them tomorrow, but it looks like that tool will be serviceable and will be able to be used on mobile devices.
Okay, cool. And do you know, like, are there plans to either extend that to the affiliates or help, like, negotiate something for different affiliates to use?
That's the intent. Yes.
Yeah. So the intent is that the software we're developing with this firm will be freely available to everybody under our contract with them, and they're going to do development as we direct them to. So the world's divided into this year and next year. This year, we're just sort of using the tool as is and trying to just get a familiarity with it. So Ohio, California, and NICE have been using it this year just to get a feel for it, see what changes need to be made. Those changes will be made over the summer, and then everybody will be able to have access to use this next year. Annalise, did you need that for this year?
Yeah, I'd be interested in checking it out to see if it would fit. Yeah.
Okay, well then, why don't we take that offline, and why don't you give me a call, and because I think we can probably get. When is your event?
April 1st.
Have you started registrations and all that stuff?
Yeah, they're due March 15th.
Okay, well, let's talk offline.
Okay, so Danny, I was just going to ask if we could do that offline because I think the rubric is actually going to be in STEM Wizard. This is Veronica, our Pitch Wizard on March 17th is what I was just told today. Like ready to go for judging.
Cool. So, excellent. So let's move on to the educational components team. Veronica, do you want to hop in on this?
Sure. Okay, well, the exciting news is that we are working on implementing a national inventing curriculum, and the goal is that everyone will have it over the summer so that, you can roll it out as you see fit in your states. The intent is that everyone would really like it and adopt it, and that at the very least this would kind of be a base foundation of inventing curriculum, and then together, right, open source, we can all just continue to share more resources and just make this much more robust. Talk to Jen, and it looks like on Friday at NICE from about 12 to 4, that timing is tentative, but we're going to try to put together basically like a training session for us all to be able to give input and eventually we'll have a higher level opportunity, right, underneath a model.
So can I clarify that? Because I added that bullet point in. So the intent of our curriculum is to be a baseline free level that to make sure there are no hurdles for any school or any homeschooled kid or any other person to get involved with invention education and to be able to have at least a baseline of quality. To have that there. There will always be on the marketplace more sophisticated and indeed probably in many ways better curricula. I mean, like the STEM Innovator stuff, Biz Innovator stuff out of Iowa, the Henry Ford is launching a whole line of innovation curriculum that they're doing with interviews with Elon Musk and all these other big players. So there will be higher, if people want to get a higher level of curriculum for their particular school, that's fine too. We're not requiring this curriculum. However, we are hoping that this will serve as a baseline, and we'd like to get everybody to buy into that so that we can make sure that we're assuring at least a certain level of quality across Invention education. I think you'll agree that when you've looked at, I'm sure some of you have gone online and looked at all the different things that are out there around Invention education and what we want to try to do, and some of it's pretty bad. And so what we want to try to do is just be able to offer a really sophisticated baseline. So when we put eventually higher level opportunities, it won't be from us. We want to leave that opportunity to the marketplace in general. I know that some of the affiliates have been talking about offering their own online curriculum and other things like that. That's great. We don't want to compete against that, so just wanted to put that out there.
And what is the nature of the input training session at NICE on Friday afternoon? Is that something to dial into, or is that?
This will be Friday afternoon at NICE, so June 2nd.
Oh,
when
got it.
Like when the kids are at the museum.
Right. Got it. Thanks.
Cool.
So
Anything else, Veronica?
Yeah, so just our goal at being able to do it at NICE, right, is to be able to show everybody kind of the portal that we have, the curriculum that we have, and be able to get everyone's feedback, right, at that point. And that way everybody has, the opportunity over the summer to look at it, and we can continue to add to it. So if we could go to the next slide, I guess.
Sure. Just as we're going to that, I'm having a fair amount of conversation with folks overseas who are interested in plugging into the Invention Convention in 2018 when we allow global participation, and this will be very attractive for them.
Hey, Bill, I talked to Qatar today for you.
Oh, good.
So Danny kind of touched on some of this, that this is a big piece of our foundation is to be able to provide impact and outcome. I mean, we kind of all struggle with that, is being able to show what kids actually do when they go through inventing curriculum. And so between having a national curriculum and pieces and parts, curricular resources, and having a platform like Pitch Wizard or STEM Wizard where we're collecting data, right? So those two resources in conjunction with one another should be able to help us all to be able to actually measure, how many kids are going through Invention Convention, what type of assessment can we give them from beginning to end. We could actually have some, real numbers and kind of track their progress. So being able to at least start by combining what we all have is kind of the first phase, I guess. And it's really important that we have all the pieces that people want in this national curriculum. So if we go to the next slide, I guess my specific ask on behalf of the educational components team is that you send us any materials that you are using that you want to be incorporated in this national curriculum. So right now, and this is like really tentative, but right now we have all of Connecticut's K-8 activities and kind of their blessing to use those, and Georgia Tech's 9 through 12 Inventing an Entrepreneurship curriculum, and Ohio's workbook, and Iowa's logbook. So we have all these pieces. If there's something you're using outside of those, or things that you think, hey, we really need to include those, you could send them to me. I'll work on them with the components team, right? And we'll try to continue to combine all these materials. Is there any questions about that?
Right. So just to add on that, by the way, so what we don't want this to come across is, hey, we went off in our corner, we did our own thing, we came back and say, now you got to use this. So this is an open, collaboration request for everybody saying, if you've got some elements of your curriculum that you really like and you think are really terrific, hey, send them to us so that we've got them and we can figure out how to incorporate them so that this ends up being a best-of-breed collaborative type of effort that everybody can buy into.
I think we kept calling it at Fall Summit, somebody kept calling it, open source. Just how do we just all share? And So that's what this is intended to be. So if you have anything that you'd like considered or you want to share, can you send it or email it to me, please? Is there any questions about this one? Okay.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Veronica. Let's go on to the data research team and Roxanne and Sonia.
Hi. We don't really
Hello.
have much of an update this time. So we already finalized the demographic questions for registration, and Sonia's working on how to integrate them into the interface. And then after our sort of state events are over, at least mine's coming up next week, and I'm sure others are on similar schedules, we'll look again at the post-event survey and make sure that's ready for this spring.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So let's go on. Let's see, was this, there was more of an update here. Is this anything that you wanted to reference at all for data research?
I didn't put together this slide. I think maybe Jen or Danny could speak to it. I mean, I know roughly, or Sonia, I know roughly what's going on. There is a team at UConn looking at our at options for measurement and assessment. Does somebody else want to chime in?
Sonia, are you on? Okay, so I'll go ahead and update you on this. So yes, we have a graduate team of students from the UConn NEAG School of Education that's putting together a national assessment strategy for us as part of their capstone effort for their PhD. And they're shooting to deliver to us on April 13th. And just to give you an idea, you know, they're sending us all sorts of neat, fancy-looking charts and all sorts of lists and measurements and stuff like that. So Sonia's been working with them, and she understands that a lot better. When this is available, we'll be able to take this and figure out, I hate to say this, but then figure out what to do with it. And work and it's going to be going through the data research team that Roxanne is leading to sort of figure out receive this and then figure out what to do with it.
Cool. Excellent. So Jen, this is on to you now. 86 days and counting.
Yes, we are, and counting. Oh, if I had a time turner, I would love to use it. But here we are. So 86 days of counting. I'm thrilled that as folks are completing your conventions, we're getting a good target of student attendance for DC. That is very helpful. So a couple of things to note this month. We did have to change the registration rate, so it's now $175 for all attendees who are going to DC. So that's the student, that's the parent, that's the chaperone. It's a flat $175 for all attendees going to Washington. K2 Online remains at $50. So Beth, to your question here, it is an unlimited registration K through 2 for the online competition. One of the things we'd like to do this year is kind of make sure we complete the K through 2 online judging with enough lead time to be able to invite the top 3, first, second, and third place in each grade, K1 and 2. We'll invite those top 3 to DC. That way they would have their own judging circle amongst those 9 students. They'd be eligible for industry and some of the other awards on site, and it would give them yet another experience of making their pitch and engaging with their colleague students and another live judge. Obviously, if those students are unable to travel, that's fine. That will not take away their top prize in the online competition. Just wanted to provide them an opportunity to travel if their families wanted to do so. You'll see that the $175 registration fee will apply because it applies to all students and family members traveling to DC. Any questions?
Jen,
there?
a quick question. Yeah, Jen, did I hear you correctly that the top K2 kiddos online will be invited to DC?
Yes. So the first, second, and third place kindergarten winners will be invited. The first, second, and third place first graders will be invited. And then the first, second, and third place second graders will be invited. They're not obligated. It's an invitation.
But they will not
ahead,
know until DC which place they got. We'll just tell them that they are a finalist.
Okay. And when does their registration open for K2? The same on April 1st?
That's the plan, yes.
Okay, so, all right, April 1st.
Yep. Now, if I can get the
Thank you.
registration systems online and ready to go sooner, I will absolutely pass that information on. Right now, I'm trying to get the at-large application process set up because, remember, that's a preliminary ahead of the K2 and 3 through 12, so kind of trying to do these in order a little bit. So that's why I moved the delegation registration back to April 1st. If it can be sooner, I'm happy to move it up for you.
Hey, Jen,
Jen,
I'm a
oh,
little confused by one thing, and I know I've probably asked this 3 times, and so I'll just leave it up that I'm an idiot, and everybody on the phone will agree with me. Regarding, there are 2 types of K through 2. There are the K through 2 at large and the K through 2 affiliate. Okay, the K through 2 at large pay a $50 fee, which is the at large fee, and if they're accepted onto finals, then they pay $175 to go to DC. The K through 2 affiliates come through the affiliate channels, and they are like any of the other 3 through 12 ones that come through. That if they're accepted into DC by their state, they don't pay a $50. They just pay the $175 like everybody else. Is that correct?
Well, it's actually, so that's that kind of second open bullet point on that, the K2 finalist section, right? So the idea that anyone traveling to DC pays the $175 registration fee. The K through 2 kids have already paid $50 for the online competition. So what I was planning to do is for those 9 who would then get invited to DC and travel, I will figure out a way to refund them $50 so that their net payment for registration is only $175.
So basically what I said was correct then. The ones that, okay, so everybody going to DC that's K through 2 effectively is paying $125 in DC is effectively what's happening. The ones who are accepted to go to DC,
it'll be
whether
a net
at large or affiliate.
Yeah. So remember, at large is acting as if it were, at large is its own state, right? So that has a registration fee the same way that your kids have a registration fee to participate in your program. Some do, some don't, but we'll say there's a registration fee to participate at state. That's what that $50 at large is. Anybody then who can promote to participate at NICE, be it in the K2 online or in person, there are registration fees to be part of the national competition. So the at-large students will pay twice if they are selected into NICE, right? The only asterisk here are the 9 K through 2 finalists will not be paying double. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to resolve that, but mercifully it's only 9 students, so I will figure it out by the time we get there.
So just in the interest of time, I'm wondering if I can take this text or text that you'd want to share, Jen, and put it in email form to the whole group in the follow-up. That way it's really clear to everybody?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So what other logistics things did we want to talk about, Jen?
So that last bullet is just, the good news is we're changing registration systems, so there's a bit of overhead with that. The good news is when we do finally let students in, it's a single system, and it's a milestone-based system, so it'll be really cool, and you'll hear about that in a few seconds. So you can take me to my next page, Bill. I'll be quick there, and then we'll talk about that registration system. So I've sent out booking links to everybody except Brenda and Beth for their hotel room blocks. I had a problem with the Westin. I'm getting resolved, but I should be able to get things to you shortly. The room blocks, I'm advertising that the room blocks close on May 2nd. The other thing is we have a new movie at the IMAX theater at the Air and Space, so we're putting the movie back into the Friday program. It's called Dream Big, Engineering Our World. So, Bill, when we send out the notes link, could we also activate that hyperlink, please?
Sure.
It's in the deck now. And last is I am looking to have about 15 new pictures from the your competitions loaded into this year's program book. So if you have any pictures for me to add there, please send them to me by April 1st. And my funky question marks are, does folks have any questions for me of stuff we haven't covered yet?
Jen, I just have a quick question. This is Beth, I'm sorry, that I think you may have already answered to me. Can parents and siblings register at the same time as their child, or did they have to wait?
The registration is being set up where the student registers. They can register a parent, although I have to figure out that payment process because there's a wrinkle there. And then what we've done is we've also added a question if families want to add additional members to the wait list. And basically what happens is after we get everyone kind of loaded in, our target is 300 kids and 300, attending adults. So if I have fewer kids, I can up the seats available to adults. I want to make sure we have no empty seats. I just want to make sure we're taking care of our kids first.
Do you have a ballpark of date when you think you would know if the reason for booking flights to arrive, they need to know if their whole family is able to go so they can book a flight together?
Yeah, and I guess what I would say to that, Beth, is, families are most welcome to make the trip with their students. It really comes down to having access to the NICE events, right? So places where credentials are needed are the meals, to get the IMAX ticket and the lunch voucher for the Smithsonian McDonald's. That's kind of the limit, right? So family members are welcome to travel with their students. When they're spending time in the DC, the museums are free. It's really just a matter of getting that additional IMAX movie ticket or providing their own lunch. The family members will have the opportunity to view the displays while the students are eating lunch on Saturday. They'll also have access to the National Inventors Museum that's on that upper level there at the USPTO. So I would encourage if family members want to attend, they're welcome. It would just be a matter of getting into the NICE events themselves. And that I won't know until the first week of May. But as soon as I know, I'll open it up. My goal was to do that registration. If we close things out on May 2nd, I'd like to open that up, May 3rd to May 5th, but it will really be, I have X number of seats available, and it'll be first come, first serve.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there
any other
kind of subsidies like there were last year? How is that working this year, the payments?
Oh, Danny, I'll let you answer that one.
Well, as we announced at the very beginning of the season, we're not in a position to do the same 50% subsidies we did last year, largely because it was such a logistics nightmare, and we still got people that haven't paid their 50%, and so it just didn't work out. So this year, one of the reasons why we raised the price to $175 is to try to build a little bit of a buffer in there, so we'd have some funds to be able to go and for kids that are from underserved places that really just cannot in any way, shape, or form raise the money. We will have limited funds for that, but it's not something to be relied on. This year, what we're doing instead is we're spending a lot more time trying to help people raise money and fundraise and build more of a sustainable long-term model around that. And so Nick is available to do a number of different things, but a couple of slides from now, you're going to hear about our progress with the IP travel industry program, and also which is helping raise money. Also, we've got a lot more support to help you guys build GoFundMe pages and to do outreach to local TV stations for PR. And so the bottom line here is there's more onus this year on the attendees to pay their own way. But the good news is that we've got in development programs that we hope to, in the midterm, really go and take that almost totally off the table.
We really should
was that
move
Laura?
on here.
Okay. Was that Laura who asked the question?
No, it was Annalisa.
Okay,
I would
Annalisa.
suggest,
So, Annalisa, if you want to talk about that offline, give me a call.
Okay.
yeah, that was going to be my suggestion. So let's see, Jen, anything else on software that you can mention fairly quickly? Jen?
Sorry, talking to myself. Danny covered most of this first page when we were talking in at large. So if you'd want to go to the next slide, please. So these are things that we're flexing it out with, and they're in varying stages. So again, the more we know, we will pass that on. So you can move on from here too.
Excellent. And this as well?
That's just actually a shot of the dashboard of how, kind of you can see how everything will be managed in a single space.
And then this?
I am done.
You're not doing this one?
I am not. No.
Okay, excellent. So, Danny, on to you and Veronica, or Nick and Veronica, to talk about the IP legal support.
Okay, I can let Nick talk about it. I wrote the last slide, so the one that you just passed over.
Oh, let me back up.
It's the 90. Right, so
yeah.
Just as an intro, Danny had asked me to share, what Ohio did last year, so I'll just share it, and it worked for us, even though I initially wasn't comfortable with it. So two options if you're still trying to figure out how to afford to get your kids to NICE, right? One option is you obviously pass that cost on to your families, and the second is that you as a program essentially are paying their way, right, through fundraising or whatever, which is obviously ideal if you can find a way to get your kids there. Last year, it was not in our budget at all, for us to be able to pay to get our kids there. And it had worked out that it was about almost $1,000 even. I think it was $900 something for us to, plus the kids do hotel, registration, food, the whole bit. So we decided to do, and I'm just sharing this, is we decided to host info sessions with our families. We had 75 kids that were invited, and basically told them, here's what the cost is, right? We didn't feel good using our program dollars for just those 73 kids, and our families, surprisingly, came from all different areas, all different financial areas, and they were able to do that. We had a 2-week turnaround, and so we wrote letters to local newspapers, right? We helped them give them ideas about GoFundMe. Largely, we asked the school districts to do it, but the long and short of it is we did not have anybody that couldn't go because of money, and I actually didn't get any pushback. If you look at other national programs, it's pretty accepted that the family might pay. So the first thought is if you're worried about getting your kids there, I would encourage you to give it a try. This year, we put aside a couple $1,000s to be able to scholarship kids if they can't otherwise afford it. Realistically, we're not going to make them jump through hoops, but if it gets to be a point where a family says, hey, we can't go unless you help us, then those will be the families that we go ahead and scholarship to be able to go. But we still can't afford to send 73 kids and us to pay for it. So that's option one. Option two, I will let Nick talk about, but the two of us together, largely him, came up with an IP program to be able to raise money locally, and we're calling it Support IP, Support an Inventor. Kind of like Save the Child, or Save a Child.
So I think at this point, everyone has heard a lot about the IP program as a whole, and I'll just speak very quickly to the ideology that's kind of supporting that and why we have faith and emphasis on this IP program. And the reason is that institutionally speaking, these IP associations are very, very hierarchical. So despite the fact that IP as a practice is very regional, at the very least within the context of a state, because obviously lawyers are only licensed to practice law within any given state. But they have this national association that oversees all of these distinct chapters, or at least has inroads into them. And so, ideologically speaking, we're trying to do our best at STEMI to find pathways to access these national Rolodexes in which we can hand off regional connections to everyone at once, rather than, working on a one-on-one basis. We can kill, 6 birds with one stone. So that's the kind of structural reasoning behind it. And then obviously, from a perspective of just mission statement as an industry, the IP industry really, it really is toe in toe with the engineering industry for the most aligned to this kind of work. The big difference is that whereas STEM programs have been kind of taken up most of the attention of engineering firms, there's really no analogous institution for IP firms, or law firms in general for that matter, that give them the opportunity to exercise philanthropy in such a way that, at least in some ways, has interplane with their mission as in their industry. So that's the idea behind why we're focusing so much on the IP industry. But the ultimate effect is going to be that Veronica and I are slowly working our way into an introduction at the national level, in which we'll hopefully, at least for the majority, I understand that there aren't these associations of IP attorneys don't necessarily exist always on a state basis. Sometimes they exist on a city basis, and they're not in some cities. But at least for the lion's share of you, we'll be able to hopefully bridge introductions into your local IP communities in such a way that they'll basically be able to blast out your messaging to all of the IP firms and attorneys in your area, saying, hey, here's a really, really unique opportunity to exercise philanthropy in a way that supports your mission directly, way that is...
Nick, just to interrupt, you're just about at 5 o'clock. So I guess the ultimate question here is, it sounds like there's still a bit of packaging to go. Maybe the thing to do is if we can give people an expectation, it sounds like in 2 weeks or so there might be a video.
It's sort of next slide.
Okay, just so we get to a conclusion here. Okay, how does this all sort of get packaged, and how soon does it get out to the affiliate?
So I guess that kind of ultimately rests within. So we need to be connected. We're asking basically that you help us research on your regional level some of the IP firms or attorneys in your area, so that we can connect you and bridge the introduction appropriately. So that's
If I could real quick background. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Nick. I didn't. We're trying to go at it 2 ways, right? So we're trying to we've met with APLA, and we're trying to, APLA is the American Intellectual Property Law Association. So we're going at it that way, right? And we have a pretty good in there, and we're trying to get the local names. So we're trying to get the names so that we can get to the city or the regional level. But also, to speed it up, Nick put together a really great package, right, where people can either donate $50 a month, $100 total, or $25 a firm. Most of you have probably already seen that. So if you want to speed it up, if you can say, hey, here's 3 IP firms, or here's 3 IP law groups in my state, my city, my area, we'll have to tell them we're working with other cities and we're working with APLA, and we can probably get the conversation going from both directions to try to get money quickly. The goal is 75 firms. If we could get 75 firms or 1,500 attorneys, which is a lot, but we would be able to pay for every kid to attend nationals. So some of these groups, like the Cleveland group alone, has 600 members. So, we can make a dent if we can get just a few of these.
And also, it's very likely to be a aggregating opportunity. In other words, next year it's likely that a good portion of those that donated this year will donate again. So, if we even get 50% of that figure next year with a decent retention, we're setting up a path to sustainability within a few years to have every single one of your kids every year paid for by the IP attorneys in your area, so you worry for fundraising for more operational activity.
Perfect. We love recurring or renewing revenue. So the call to action for everybody is, if you know of some IP firms locally, please send those names to Nick and Veronica, and they're happy to help work it from their direction as well to see if some revenue relationships can be created. So good. Anything else to close up, Nick and Veronica? Excellent. Thank you. That was really, really good. So why don't we just take a minute? If there are open topics, we might just identify them and then aim to offline conversations. But are there any topics that weren't addressed that anyone would like to make sure do get addressed? Okay. Sounds good. Well, again, feel free to email any of us and or give us a call, and we're here absolutely to move the ball forward for and with you. So our next meeting, and I'm sure we'll all be talking in between now and then, but is Tuesday, April 4th, again, 4 to 5 Eastern time. We do change time this weekend, so we'll be an hour earlier, I guess, is the idea. So in any event, it's been great to chat with you all. This is a very interactive call today. It was really good to hear everybody's comments, and we'll get a summary email out with a recording of this within the next day or so. And if there's anything that any of the contributors on the call want me to include on that follow-up email, if you would, if there's anything special, just email it to me so I can make sure I get your words correct. Thanks all so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.